Hello, 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 everybody. I hope you're all well, and thank you for joining our webinar. I really hope that you can see and hear us well, but if you joined just right now, can you please give me a kudo in the chat that you can hear and see us well, because it's very important for us to be heard and seen, especially since we're making a webinar. While we're waiting, I am going to ask an additional question. If you already see us and if you already hear us, drop us a line in the chat where you're watching us from, where you're located. For example, I will start. I am located in Portugal. And I am really interested if there are people from other locations. Oh, Sandra wrote, hello. Hi. Hi, guys. So cool to see so many people. We can hear you well. Very good. Wonderful. Very, very glad to see all of you. Oh, and we see first people writing where they're from. So we have people from Estonia, Portugal, Tbilisi, Georgia, Serbia is here, Espinho, Portugal, also Serbia, Ireland, May, welcome. We have our headquarters in Ireland, and we're very proud to have our Irish comrades in the chat as well. Lisboa, of course. Portugal is one of our most popular offices and one of the biggest ones, along with Tbilisi and Sofia. So if you're from there, make sure to check out the job opportunities in our cities, in those cities, because yeah, we have offices there and they're cool, very beautiful. I've been to all of them, and yeah, it is a great place to work, but also to visit. We have a lot of events going on, so even if you don't work with us, you can always come and give us a visit and look how we work and share some information and maybe meet make new important connections. I see, yes, a lot of people from Bulgaria, Lithuania, also one of our youngest offices, and Alexander from Macedonia, well, Alexander of the Macedonia, like the greatest conqueror from the legends. Also, we have Elham from Kosovo. That's so cool. And we also have Shemi from Azerbaijan. Yeah, it's such a wide geography, and I'm really proud that you have joined us today. And I guess we can start. I really hope that everyone who wanted to join has already joined. And finally, welcome. My name is Maria, and I will be hosting this event. Welcome to dxTechTalk, a series of free tech meetups organized by international fintech company, dxExperts. dxExperts specializes in the development of financial software solutions and services for the global capital markets industry. Our company has been founded in 2002, so it's a company with the history, and we have R&D centers in Jersey City, Porto, Vilnius, Munich, Dublin, Tbilisi, Sofia, and Istanbul. We launched this project to be in touch with the tech community and share our expertise in fintech and discuss our products, technologies, and tools, everything we know, basically. So we also have offline tech communities in Portugal, Bulgaria, and Georgia. So we'd be very glad to see you in person, as I have already said. Usually we try to record all the presentation from both online and offline events. So in case you're interested what was happening on either offline or online events, you can always come here to our YouTube channel to see everything and find out something new about fintech and about IT, all in all. So make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel not to miss the new videos. And of course, follow us on social media on meetup.com, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, of course, to stay in touch and learn everything about upcoming events. Usually we announce them on our corporate profiles, which is quite logical. So make sure to subscribe. And today, we're going to talk about front-end technologies. And in the program, we have two wonderful talks, around 25 minutes each. After each talk, we're going to have a short question and answer session. So please don't be shy. Type your questions in the chat, and we're going to read them aloud, and the presenters will answer them. And it is not going to be just a presentation, but it's going to be a dialogue, a live one. That is why I love live events, because it's always like synchronized communication, and you can always ask the person who's presenting and get immediate answers. So I really recommend doing that. So the first speaker is Marin. He holds a degree in informatics from Sofia University, and he will be broadcasting from our Sofia office. This person has over 10 years of experience in front-end and related technologies, and I am not going to take this opportunity to present himself from Marin. Marin, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Maria. I hope you can hear and see me well. Let me share my screen for the presentation. And before I start, I want to say that it is a prerequisite for this presentation to have good knowledge of HTML. If you don't, you probably won't find this presentation useful. Knowledge of CSS is also highly beneficial. Knowledge of JavaScript and jQuery is nice to have, but definitely not mandatory. So let's kick off. As you can see, the topic of today's presentation is Introduction to HTMX. I'm Marin, and let me say a few words about me. I'm 39. I'm a front-end developer. I have diverse experience in front-end development. I've participated in the creation of various web apps, online shop, mobile sites, and mobile apps, and even JavaScript libraries. I have also worked on projects from different spheres like e-commerce, mobile gaming, sports data, you name it. I am currently focused on working with React and TypeScript. And if you're pursuing a career in software development, my advice to you would be to try to stick to the new and trending technologies, because old ones get deprecated or abandoned at some point and are no longer of any benefit to you. In my case, when I started my career, I developed Flash applications. And Flash is a technology that's no longer supported by modern browsers. I love to play old computer games, which I played as a child. So yeah, whenever I have time, I do that. So what's the agenda today? We are going to discuss what is HTMX, why use it, how to use it, and after I sell it to you, I'm going to mention some of its disadvantages. So, despite some misinterpretations linking HTMX with Microsoft, HTMX is actually a small JavaScript library developed by a company called Big Sky Software. Its old name is Intercooler.js, and this is the website where you can find all the documentation needed about HTMX. If you're working with HTMX, you can use it as a single source of truth. Let's take a look. Yeah, current version is 2.0. It has been released, but it's currently not marked as latest. So people could still use the version 1. In my examples, I'm using version 2. So the library, what the library does is it allows you to work with AJAX requests and create CSS transitions without writing JavaScript. That's right. It eliminates JavaScript, so no need to know it in order to make requests to the server. WebSockets and server-side events, as you can see, are also supported, but they are supported by extensions of the library. The core part does not include that. And here is why it's nice to learn about HTMX and why using it might help the project you're working on. According to Rising Stars, HTMX has it was one of the most popular things in the JavaScript environment. You can see the stats here. They are for last year, but as you can see, a lot of stars on GitHub for HTMX. right behind React. The authors of HTMX believe that using their library, you can significantly reduce your code base, and less code means less bugs. Another reason why you should use HTMX is described in the following example. Say you have a plain HTML document which has to communicate with the server. If you don't write any JavaScript, you have two options. Option one, create an anchor tag, and when the user clicks it, a request will be sent to the server. The second option is to create a form which can be submitted. The authors of HTMX ask the question, why only clicking on anchor tags and submitting forms should be the way in HTML to interact with the server? And that's why exactly what HTMX actually tries to polyfill. For example, give you the ability to make an AJAX request after the users, say, clicked on a div. In order to start coding in HTMX, first you have to add the library to your app. You have several options. You can use a script tag, and you can add it as a dependency and refer to it in the node modules folder if you're using npm. I personally haven't tried the option to integrate the HTMX with Webpack, but that's well documented, and I believe it's not so hard to do. That's documented on their website. And once you have added the HTMX library to your app, you can start adding HTMX attributes to your HTML tags. And now I believe it's time for our first demo. Before I do it, I want to say that all the demos you're going to see today are I have running locally, and you will be able to check out later the code and see how everything is implemented. So let's start with the demo. What I have here is a simple web page. Let me refresh it, and let's open, just in case, the network tab. Whenever I click on this first item, I get hello world down below. I also see an AJAX request with a response of hello world. So how was this all this functionality achieved? Very simple. I have the ordered list, which you saw, and I have the list item which I clicked. And the code said whenever the user clicks this item, make a GET request to this URL demo/1, and whenever the response is received, take the response content and replace the content in the element with ID demo content with the content of the response. And that's all. I have basically 3 HTML attributes or HTMX attributes, and that's enough to make a request and update the HTML document. So you saw that I made an AJAX request, a GET AJAX request. The other possibilities in HTMX are post, put, patch, or delete. If you want to use another AJAX method, I believe that would not be possible with HTMX. Another very common scenario is sending request params together with your request. With HTMX, you have 2 options. Either use a form tag in your page, thus all form values will be passed, or use HXInclude attribute and specify which values you want to pass. Let's take a look at an example and compare the 2 approaches. You can see on the left side, I have 2 inputs and a submit button, which has HX attributes. It defines that when clicked, the button will make an post request to this URL, and it will include the fields with IDs fname and lname. On the right side, you see I have a form tag, but no HXInclude attribute. That's because fields with names fname and fname will be automatically sent with the request. Let's check how this code actually works. So I made a request which returned this HTML to me. And now let me fill the forms. Here I don't have a form tag. So when I submit it, you can see that a request was sent to the server. I got a response, and this response appeared here. Let's see. Also, let's check what form data was sent. Here are the params that were sent. And now let's check what happens if I fill in the other form. So another request, same params were sent. I got the response, and it appeared here. Maybe some of you noticed that I have different values in the HX swap attributes. This is something that we're going to discuss a little later, why that is. HX trigger. So now let's talk about what triggers the request. So far, we did not see this attribute because by default, for the majority of HTML elements, HTMX triggers a request on click. There are some exceptions like input, text area, and select, which are triggered by default on the change event. Form is triggered on the submit event, but there are other triggers one could use. You can see here a few examples. There are also special triggers when the element is loaded into the DOM, for example, when it comes into the user's viewport that is revealed, or when part of the element appears on the viewport in the viewport that is intersect. Once you define the trigger, you can add a modifier to it. Here are some examples, like with pressing a control key, with modifying the trigger to include a delay after the user triggered the request, make some delay before issuing the request. And yeah, you can also make sure that only once the request is made. For example, you have a button. The first time the user clicks it, you make a request. The second time the user clicks it, nothing will happen. There are similarities to this, for example, in jQuery. If you know it, you probably see the similarity. So here is another thing you can do with HX trigger. For example, you can do polling. In this example, we tell HTMX to send a GET request to /news and do it every 2 seconds. Polling can be interrupted also by the server if the server returns a specific response code. I think it was 286 or something, but that's on the server side. So HX target. This attribute we saw already several times. It is good to know that when declaring its value, you can use extended CSS syntax to easily locate your target element. You can use the keywords described here. When you have many similar elements and you want to locate a specific one, for example, if you have a table and you want to locate the closest table row, you can use the closest keyword. HX swap. So this attribute is also kind of familiar already. It defines the swap strategy. That is how to replace the old content with the new content. And there are various strategies that you can use. Inner HTML, outer HTML. For example, inner HTML means replace the content of the DOM element that we target, and outer HTML means completely replace the target element. There are other strategies after begin, before begin. They are related to prepending or appending content. Yeah, deletes the target element regardless of the response. None does nothing, just a request is issued and that's all. Hoisting attributes, what does it mean? If all HTML elements have the same HX attribute, and that's by that I mean all siblings somewhere in the DOM tree, the attribute can be hoisted to avoid code duplication. Child elements can disregard the inheritance by using hx and the corresponding attribute and unset it. Let's take a look at an example. This is part of the code from the application, from the web page I showed you. As you can see, I have an ordered list with multiple list items, and instead of repeating that target and the swap strategy should be the same for across every list item, I just hoist it or put it to the parent element, define it in the parent element, and all my list items follow these attributes. Of course, when you have a different value, hx get, for example, I specify it in the corresponding list item. Let's mention some other possibilities that HTMX gives us. As I already said, WebSockets and server-sent events, are supported by an extension of the core HTMX library. When building single-page apps, developers often have to care about history. HTMX has an attribute for that. It's called hx-push-URL. Implementing a loading indicator is not exactly a feature, but rather a trick you have to know when working with HTMX. Whenever the user triggers a request, the element which triggered it gets a class HTMX-request. Thus, you can add your loading indicator inside of the trigger element and make it by default invisible with CSS, for example, with display none. And you can override this style by defining that your loading indicator should be visible when it is a child of an element with class HTMX request. Yeah, I have an example of this. So see here, I have this loading indicator, and actually it is an element which is hidden, but whenever I click it, I have another class which reveals it. CSS transitions, when implementing CSS transitions with HTMX, there are two rules you have to follow. There is an example in my GitHub repo with that. First rule is original content, and new content should have the same ID. And the second rule is that new content should have styles defining the transition. That's basically it. And now let's talk about the disadvantages of HTMX. One major downside of HTMX is that whenever the server does not return a success, HTMX does not handle errors. And for that, you will need to have some JavaScript written to handle errors, server errors. Another disadvantage is that HTMX is tied to server returning HTML. If the server, let's say, has an API to return JSON or something else, that will not work for you. App state. Here is an interesting opinion I read while researching about HTMX. One major downside to HTMX is that as soon as there is any state that you have to keep track of, you're teleported back to the late 90s or early 2000s, where you have to keep track of all your state in hidden form fields, and you're extremely constrained in how you update pages. So consider that for big applications, you may have issues with HTMX and app state. And here are the resources I used. I couldn't help but add the NetNinja logo because I followed two tutorials from this YouTube channel to learn more about HTMX. If you follow the QR code link, you can see the other resources I used that include a discussion, a blog, a video comparing HTMX and React. In my opinion, this is like comparing apples and oranges, but both have their applications. For example, HTMX is in smaller applications can be better, and in smaller applications and web pages, while React is better for large-scale apps. So yeah, among the resources, you can also find the repository with the examples I showed in this presentation. So I believe that's basically it. Thank you so much for your attention. Now let's have some discussion about it.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I am really glad to see any meme with cats on the presentation, and yet the topic that you touched upon is very relevant, and the actuality of it is on right now. As far as I understood, HTMX is not very old language. Am I right?
Yep, I would say this is a trending library. This is something new that may gain up more speed as time progresses.
Well, the longer you live, the more you have to learn. Because when I entered the IT world, just for you to say, I am not a technical person at all. I knew only about like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that even such basic technology, it evolves all the time, and it really it is really impressive, because sometimes you think like, well, it was written so long ago and it still works. Probably it doesn't need to be changed if it works. The first rule, if it works, don't touch it. But on the other hand, any improvement, it requires a lot of work, and I really hope that everyone who already has the HTML knowledge can now apply this new technology to their daily life and work. So, guys, please follow my example and ask questions. Please type them in the chat, and Marin is going to answer them. So we actually have the first one. Maria asks, can you also modify the request headers with HTMX, just like you were able to pass body parameters?
Okay, that's a nice one. Yep, it is possible. As I said, HTMX.org is the correct place to look for this information. But yeah, so there is this attribute HX headers, which you can use. Yeah, there is even an example here, just how to set the header you want to pass with your request. By the way, there is one more attribute, I think, HX request attribute. Yeah, as you can see by the documentation from htmx.org, it says that you can pass no headers in the HX request attribute, and this will strip all the headers from the request. So two HX tags which can come into action in your web page or web application.
Okay, very good question, very good answer. And yeah, we really hope that we answered your question fully, Maria. And we have another one. Since React uses a virtual DOM and HTMX directly manipulates the real DOM, are there any best practices for integrating HTMX into a React application without causing conflicts?
I would say that using both at the same time is maybe not the best approach, because yeah, with one of them, with just one of them, you should have everything you need. For example, if you're building a big application, that should be quite enough to use React. If you're building a small application, sticking to HTMX should be enough. And one of the main advantages of HTMX is that it's a very small library. So if you're building a small website, in order to keep performance and quick loading times, using HTMX would be the preferred way, I would say.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the question and the answer. Please let us know if we answered your question. And from what I see, we don't have any more questions left, and that's great. It means that you were informative enough for people to understand everything. On the other hand, we had a couple of specific questions, which is also very good, because you understand that you talk to professionals, and they will definitely use this information later in their work. So Yes, guys, please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have additional questions offline. So you can write on our social networks or find Marin on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions left, you can ask them on social networks without being involved in the actual webinar like right now. So thank you very much again, Marin. And we're moving to our next speaker. Okay, dear audience, if it's not the first time that you see dxTechTalk, you already probably know Fabio Zuin. This is not his first rodeo. He is the star of DX Frontend Tech Talks, and he began his career in 2014 as a full stack developer. Yet his passion for front-end development brought him here. He's going to tell a little bit about himself by himself. So, Fabio, please welcome.
Hello, guys. Thank you, Maria, for the kind words. Now I'm a little bit. I think that it's a heavy duty right now, right? So let's see if I can feel the expectations. So, guys, nice to see you, everyone. I will check the YouTube later to see what you guys are talking. So let's get started. Go straight to the point. So, hello. So I'm Fabio, Fabio Zuin. I'm a senior software developer at dxExperts. I've been working developers for almost 4 years already. So I'm Brazilian. I moved to Portugal to work for dxExperts and being such a thrill for a while. So about me, so I'm working with web since 2015. I started like with jQuery, AngularJS, and these old things, right? I remember that I had like 18 years old, 19 years old, and I was like the youngest. And today I'm already started to be the oldest. I love to play guitar. I play pretty bad, but you know, like it's that's fine. Recently I started playing League of Legends again, so my life is ruined again. So, but you guys watch the Arcane at least is awesome. Besides that, I'm co-founder of a front-end community here in Porto. That's the Front-end Oppo. So we have like these meetups too. We already have been hosted by dxExperts. So if you guys want to see, you guys can enter our website. We have on our Instagram, and we have some tech talks there too. Okay. So let's go straight ahead for what matters, right? Everyone's talking about it. Spotify Rapid. That's mine. I want to see your Spotify Rapid in YouTube later, but just kidding. Let's start with the agenda. So, you guys saw the title of the presentation, right? So it's like real-time applications with RxJS. What I want to share here is like, just let me put my cell phone on focus mode because I can focus without it. So first I want to like explain what's a real-time application, right? It's pretty simple, but some people cannot know it. What's RxJS? Some core concepts that's really important to understand. And I want to take like a practical guide of like how to use it, how a software engineer, software developer can take in their day and their daily basis and use it and take advantage. Okay. So real-time application. When I started to create this talk here, I started like to think like what I can show as a real-time application. And I have this thing with airplanes. I don't know. I have this love with airplanes, with the technology, with the engineer of airplanes. And I remember about the Flight Radar 24. That's like this website where you can see like all the airplanes in the world, right? I don't know if it's all right, but almost all. They have like the data stream with gRPC. That's a different thing of what we're like going to talk today. I think that they can have like optimistic updates, but imagine like how much is the flow, how much is the data flow that's happening just by looking at this page right now. So there's a lot of live data. Airplanes are like going like 900 kilometers per hour. So it's a lot of data. You can maybe do some optimistic updates, but you guys can understand where we can take it, right? So that's an example of real-time application. So you have like a lot of data came to your application and displaying to the user. And the most important thing to the user is to be updated with the last data. Okay, but why we don't create a real-time application? So for example, have you guys like booked like I don't know, Ryanair flight, right? So you just like book your seat, you just like confirm and you do like this HTTP request and you say like maybe someone took your seat already, and this can happen in cinemas and all this kind of stuff. It, imagine if it was like a real-time application, like some big cinemas, it's movies and new movies where you can just lively, you can see what's happening, how is the room. But it's like the complexity is high, the cost too, and the maintenance is even higher. So you need your team to be prepared to create real-time applications, because the challenge of a real-time application is way different than a like push and pull application, like we're like used to it with REST APIs, right? So it's not simple to create a live application. But I want to talk like more about the front end part here. We're going to have like some assumptions here that I will give like a brief example. But let's get started. So first, let's talk about RxJS. But before talking about RxJS, I think we need like to remember a really important thing here about programming today. That's the declarative versus imperative paradigm, right? So declarative, it's basically that you can look at the code and just understand what's happening just by reading it, right? So if we see in the first example here, I have the double evens. So I can see that I have this array of numbers. I'm filtering what's even, and after that I'm multiplying by 2. So it's pretty straightforward, right? You can see by .filter, .map. If you guys already worked with JavaScript before that, you guys remember that we didn't have it at all. We didn't even have the for each. So it's crazy. If you guys remember the low dash, how it was. So it's pretty straightforward. You see like how easy we can read this code, right? In the other example, we have the imperative code. It's how we use to learn how to program, right? So you can see that we have like this for each, we have this for, some things are happening, they are more declarative, and they going up and down if you start to thinking how it works, right? And we becoming like even more in the front end world and other new languages like Kotlin or other languages, we started to get more declarative, right? So this is awesome to remember, and it's one of the keystones of the RxJS, okay? So what's RxJS? So RxJS is a library that will help us to create reactive programming using observables, and it will make it easier to create like asynchronous in callback code and callback based code. So if you guys like already work, I think with like in a front end meetup, you guys see how basically JavaScript is asynchronous by default, right? When you're creating like application, you always like create an application where people interact and they wait for a response or something. And JavaScript is really great in doing that. But after we started like to have the await, but before that we had like the callbacks else, and so goes by in the declarative code, in the imperative code, right? Fabio, what's observable, if you ask me, and I think it's important to say. So I was searching the web, not asking the ChatGPT, just how can I explain what's observable? When I came across this example here, that's observable with someone that's telling a history in a plaza, right? Someone like telling about the end of the world in a plaza, and he's like observable emitting data, right? So the story is the data that he's emitting. And we have like these observers and subscribers that are people that walk in the street and say like, hey, I want to listen to this story. Pretty straightforward. Observables emit data, and that's it. Okay. One great thing that I want to share here, since the beginning when I saw the observables, I heard that observables will be becoming part of the JavaScript, like ES7 or something. It's not going to be like that, but it's going to be like part of the web API. So basically, you're going to use a web API like in Chrome for using it, not part of JavaScript. So let's see how it's, so I have some links here about the discussions, like a request for comments, a lot of data, but it's really cool to check and understand how people decide, how people comment and discuss about it. So I have here this example of how it could be, right? So if you guys remember, today we need to do like the document get element by, something like that. We get the button, and after that we add the event listener. Inside of the event listener, we add the callback, and so goes by. So if we see here, if you see like, for example, the first example, we have like the button, and we listen to the mouse move event. We take it until something happens. So take it until is like operator. I will be talking about operator later. So we're listening to this observable until something, and we subscribe to it. We can do something with the data. After that, we have like other example that's even like good to check it. So it's the element. We listen the click one element. We filtering if the class inside of this element is full, right? And after that, we map to an object that we want, and we interact with that in each click. So really straightforward. I want to see this in the web later. I think like how the event listeners are today is like a little bit old, let's be honest. So it's a cool stuff before we dive into. So I talked about operators, right? So let's go about operators. So RxJS is more useful because they have these operators that will help us to create code that do something, and we're going to compose them declaratively, like you guys saw in the past example, right? And here I have some examples of filter, like example of operators. We have the filter that will filter something. We have the distinct that I would just like receive data into observable when the data changes, and so goes by. I think you guys are, if you guys like worked with Angular, you guys like 100%, 95% already have the experience with RxJS at least. The HTTP client of Angular is built around RxJS. And I think that that's something that was holding the framework a little bit because people that wanted to start learning Angular, they needed to learn RxJS. But I'm not talking about bad things about RxJS. I think that's awesome, but we have like a learning curve to start understanding and like to start getting productive with that, right? It's like if you guys like had experience with promises, I had like when I started back in 2014, 2015, I was like mind blown about promises, you know. But you have like this learning curve, and it's fine. So if we compare like what's like the HTTP client of Angular does, so it's pretty straightforward here. We have the get, we have the endpoint, we have the subscribe, and we have like the response or whatever. And here we have the fetch in a simple JavaScript implementation, right? You can see how it's like different. Of course, there's like some abstraction. The RxJS, the client is abstraction, but you can see like how it can differ and how it can be helpful. I don't know if it's an overkill. I think that for maybe a simple HTTP request that now you write in like 6-7 lines, yes. But if you're going to handle like codes or other kind of like retrying or something, that's perfect in the RxJS. Okay. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is like it's not a bad library or something. It's like everything in today is really easy to do npm install, right? But like everything, they have the use case, and we should think a little bit about it. I know that I mentioned like Angular, but I will be like talking about React because I think that's the most popular framework. I think that using RxJS with React is not so common. So I think that I can help you guys one or two things here, okay? So where RxJS shines? So Fabio talked a lot about that. So for example, here in DevExperts, we work a lot with trading firms. So basically, when we talk about that, with creating trading solutions, right? And like I said, what's the most important thing in the real-time application is the live data, right? The client should be updated. So today, this night, for example, I was wake up like 3 a.m. I don't know why. and I saw that the Bitcoin hit like 100K, 102K. So, for example, it's important to you to know the latest value of Bitcoin. And sometimes you need like to do some transformations, some operations. And here is where the RxJS shines, at least in my point of view. And we can discuss a little bit more further. So like I said, I want to give like a scenario and understand how we can implement, how it can help us. So I create this scenario that we have like this crypto client. I'm pretty into crypto right now, but I'm pretty bad, right? That's why I work as a developer. If I was good, I was rich. That's the thing. And they want to display the cryptocurrency price. They want it fast, fail-proof, scalable, and with good observability. That's logging and like all the clients, right? Like all our customers. So you're like our software engineer, right? And you receive this Jira test. Your PM call you and say like, hey, can you get this Jira here for me, this Jira test? So it's straightforward. I want to display the price and the description of the available crypto. I want to get the price from quotes. That's a quotes object that will give me the price of the asset. I want the description from the profile because I need to know that like Bitcoin, BTC is called Bitcoin, right? And later I want to display a more human readable symbol. Like I said, BTC should be Bitcoin, ETH should be Ethereum. And later I want, because it's important to the user to be in live data, I want to say, hey, you're not receiving live data if we don't receive anything more than 5 seconds. Okay? So dive me into straight the code really quickly. The first thing here is let's create a provider, right? You guys are like aware of React. You guys are aware of what's the context provider. So here we're creating this connection context provider where I'm creating this new DX feed client and I'm memoizing it only the first time of my application, because if I will handle reconnection or something, I don't want to re-render and recreate everything. Maybe I can re-render the reconnection by myself, or we can talk about what's the best approach, but not the case here. So we have this context provider. I want to share it between like different components in my application. That's the deal, okay? So setting up your data connection. So I have like this class that's called dxFeed that you guys see that I was instancing there. Personally, I like to, when talking about interact with backend in JavaScript, I still like to use the class approach for sometimes. I think it's composable. It's great. It's different from the functional approach, but I think that sometimes in this layer of interaction with the backend, there's not so much of like the functional gain. I think the class, it's a little bit better sometimes. Okay. And here you guys are going to see that I have like 2 functions that subscribe to code, subscribe to profile, that are having this mock functions, right? And here I wanted to show the mock because it was like a live coding demo. And you guys know, right? You guys work with programming. Every time that you're going to do a demo, something gets wrong. It's deal. You guys, if you guys join in the programming world, you're going to see always have the plan B, because the plan A fails when you're going to demonstrate to the customer. It's like the printer, you know, when you need to print something, it never works. So in this case, I wanted to have it, but I create the mocks for it. And I think this is really important because I can show how powerful the RxJS can be, okay? If we go to the next slide, I wanted to have this example here. You're going to see that I have like 2 functions that the mock goes and mock profile, right? And they're like having like some RxJS code here. Let's dive a little bit about it. So we have interval. Interval is an operator, and it's called a create operator, okay? A creation operation. So what's happening here is like after some time that I sent, that I gave to him, you can in milliseconds, he's going to emit observable. Yeah, that's the word. He's going to emit observable. So I'm doing like a pipe function here, and I'm creating, I'm calling another operator that's a flatten operator. How it's called, that switch map. So I'm saying like, hey, thank you for this observable, and now I will emit a new observable. Okay. And that's where I have the off operator, that's other creation operator, that will generate observable from something that I give. It can be an object, an array, or something. So are you guys seeing like how can I easily like create like data flowing through my application? So imagine that you have, I didn't add it in this example, but maybe when I with the third version of this presentation, I will have it. You have like this top observable, and you can, when you want to have mock data, because I already had it in a project here, we wanted to show mock data, because if you guys know about a little bit about stock markets, they close after some time, and we need to keep testing, to keep loading, testing the application, and mocking the application is a great way of doing it. Okay. And this is the way of how we do it. So we have like this observer on the top of the application, and we can just change before it, and we can like, instead of going to the backend, just do like the mocks for me. And it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And it's basically like you have the waterfall, right? The waterfall goes down and it's water, and you can change for beer, you know? That's perfect. So that's the power. You can create mocks easily like that, composing with observables. So the real deal here now, we created the context provider, create everything. Now let's show the data, right? So I have here this use effect, really simple React application, straightforward, and not a lot to see here. I have this use effect, right? So I'm subscribing to quotes, subscribing to profile, and setting the data, and so goes back. Works, but there's a problem here. And if you guys see here, I have the application running. It works perfect. It works, but we can improve it. Okay, and there's a real big mistake here that happens when using RxJS with React, and I'm going to talk a little bit about now. Always unsubscribe. Even in Angular, always unsubscribe from React, from subscription, from observables. In React is even more important, because remember how is the life cycle of the render in React, right? So when you set something in the set state, he recreates your entire component, right? So in the past code, every time that I was like recreating, if the client changed, I was going to be like recreating everything again, and this can cause memory leaks. Okay, so what I'm doing here, if you guys see line 24, I'm creating like a cleanup function that's saying like, hey, unsubscribe when we re-render. Important. And let's continue. There's a problem in the past slide. I forgot to keep it. So if we had like 5 more subscribes, I will need 5 more observables. I will need to have like 5 more lines of like subscribing, and so goes by. This is not how it should work. Imagine that I need to combine the profile data with quote data. So we need to have a way of doing that, right? So operators, always that you have like some problem with interactions, maybe RxJS will have an operator for you, okay? So in this case, for example, we use the combine latest. So the combine latest receives 2 observables, and it will combine in just one subscription. As you guys can see in the line 28.9, pretty straightforward. There's one catch using combine latest. He will just emit values when both, in this case, both observables emitted. Okay, perfect, straightforward. I just have like one unsubscribe now, so getting simpler. The thing that I want to show here is like, you see how we can composing the application. In this case, we're composing like in a component level, so I'm doing things that my component needs. Okay, save this checkpoint for later. So here we have the application running again, and so goes by. So remember, we have the quotes profile. We're getting the data. We're displaying to the user. We're almost there, guys. But I want to, if not I want, but the client requested, right, that we need to notify the user if we have like more than 5 seconds without data, right? And here, operators again. So we can come here to the line 22, and we have like this timeout operator that he will throw an error after like a given time, in this case 5 seconds, and I would give this alert to the user. I would just like play the video again because like pretty quick. Yeah, exactly. And you can do like something, you can try to reconnect, you can try to recreate your observable, you can do something, you can react to it, right? So again, all these in component level. If you wanted to be in the top of your application doing like, if this observable doesn't meet, I need like to do something, you can more focus in component level here. But I have this last example of like composing on a top level, right? Remember that the last point was that we need to show human readable text to the user. So instead of ETH, I want to show Ethereum. So I have the list here on line 64, 65. And what I'm doing, I'm just going like to my layer, my top layer, right? My layer of interaction with the service. And in the line 53, I'm saying like each time that I receive a new data, I will map to it and I will replace as I want. In this case, if you guys see line 53, I'm doing the map. I'm calling this function that's called map to human readable. And I'm just replacing the event symbol inside with the supported coin. The first thing here is like, can you guys see that why I'm doing this on the top level? Maybe my application will need to use this human readable in other place. So it's not like a component thing. So all the other components that will connect, it can be like the history page, any page, will already have the value as they want. And if they want to change it down the stream, they can do it. So yes, what I wanted to show to you guys is like how it's easy, how it's of course there's like the curve, and how it can be applicable to our needs of a real-time application and so goes by. Yeah, I had like I forgot the animations there. Yeah. So I want to wrap up. I think it's already took a pretty long time. So I want to wrap up saying that I always say that there's no silver bullet, so I will not say that. But I think there's cases where you need to use RxJS, like talking about live data. I think for us in Dev Experts makes a lot of sense because of the things that I already said in the presentation. Sometimes you don't need it, and that's fine. What I wanted to show in this presentation is when you're going to, how to identify when you're going to need the RxJS and how it can help you. So yeah, that's it. Questions, guys?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fabio, for another fabulous presentation with wonderful visuals. Like SpongeBob is one of my favorite characters since childhood, and my brother had a carpet with SpongeBob, so it's a nice touch. Thank you very much. Actually, while people are typing their questions, I'm going to read aloud one comment from Alex. He says that Rx marbles are good to understand operators visually. Can you please comment that?
Yeah, so basically, if you guys go to the, for example, to the documentation of RxJS, you guys are going to see that you have like these examples where you have like a key, and it shows like the interaction of what's happening with the observable. So when we switch map and when you're filtering, and these are the marbles, and it's how you can like visually understand what's happening. And yeah, that's it. It's really great to understand how. There's like some websites I think I can like even provide in the later. I remember that someone sent that you can have a playground of like what's like you do like you compose the filters like the operators, and after that he will like create the marble and show how it is and how it's working. It's really great to visualize what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. What are the other libraries besides RxJS for reactivity?
So we have like that I know MobX. That's a real famous one. But I see that sometimes the syntax is a little bit older. I think it feels a little bit. I think that the RxJS like having more updates and more tested in battle. And yeah, that's it. I just know MobX. Yeah.
Okay, guys, please don't be shy and ask your
Yeah.
questions while we still have time. And yes, please move to the contact information. I think like those who are too shy to ask questions right now, you can find us via these links or reach out to Fabio on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure he's open to any communication. And if you still have questions about this presentation or about the field where Fabio is best at, which is front end, please feel free to reach out. And we have another question. See, the the advertisement pause always works. Would you give us any certification? Oh, Erhan. Well, it would be so cool if we got a certification after every YouTube webinar, but no. For this, you have to dig a little bit further and maybe take on a course where they guarantee the certificates, or try applying for our internship. You can go to our website or on our LinkedIn and see open internship positions, like at careers.devexperts.com or on LinkedIn. Look for our open positions. We have several internship programs, and if you're interested in certified and certified education and also further employment, probably you should take that path. But no, we wish we could, but we cannot. Thank you. Okay. Well, that was a like a funny question, but yet it was it was relevant. Why not? So thank you very much, Fabio. Thank you very much, Marin, for your presentations, and thanks to you, our wonderful audience. We are very happy to share this time and share our knowledge with you tonight. So please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media, not to miss any new information and any new recordings of webinars that we have and of the offline events that we have in Sofia, Tbilisi, and Porto. And why not think about it? If you have something to say and if you dream of being on Fabio's or Marin's place, please drop us a line, and we will make everything that that depends on us to make you a speaker of dxTechTalk. So if you are a professional in backend, front-end, design, or any other IT-related field, or especially fintech field, we're calling for papers. So go to dxTechTalk.devexperts.com and apply. We will be very happy to see you on stage, like we saw Fabio and Marin today. Again, thank you very much to everyone, and good night.